Good morning. This is Shannon and Emily with Finding the Thing, and we are here today. This is episode 26. I am in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, vacationing for my last trip of the summer. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And we're going to start off by talking about this company I just discovered a few days ago on my travels here, called Liquid Death. And I know when I messaged Emily about it, she was like, "Oh, I love them." So she
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I just found out about them, I think like this time last year.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So I picked up a can of this water. So it's water. And I picked up a can at a convenience store on the way here. And it is water that is sourced from a mountain deep underground. I think
Mhm.
in Austria. What I read was it was sourced from Austria. Um,
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do think that it's from maybe the Alps.
Yes, that does sound
That
familiar. I
sounds
think
right.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and it's tapped into cans. And so they're tall boy cans. So they look like beer, and they're 16.9 ounce cans. And how they do it, whatever process they use, it maintains the original mineral profile of the water. And they have like a pH of 8.1 plus or something. So I don't know all about the pH.
Yes.
I don't quite understand all of that, but I think that's a good thing. But I'm
Oh,
not
oh, sorry.
sure. Um,
Yeah, I remember when I first saw the can, I was thinking this either has to be an energy drink or it has to be a beer. Like I was like really shocked that it was just water.
yeah, I think it really did look to me like an energy drink. And I know when I went to check out at the convenience store, the woman was like trying to put it in a bag for me because I guess whatever state I was in at that point, they require alcohol to be in a bag. And I was like, no, it's water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, it was very shocking.
Yeah. So anyway, they have an amazing marketing campaign. And I think one of the things is murder your thirst and
Yeah.
plastic. So those are two of the things that they use. I wish I had a can here to show for the people that will watch us on video, but I don't. I did post an image of the can on our Instagram. So Finding the Thing on Instagram. And certainly you can follow them at Liquid Death on Instagram. But they have some amazing marketing. And they just talk about this story. It was like this little story on the can that I was reading about teens, like I can't even remember it exactly, but it was talking about teens traveling and needing their thirst quenched and
Oh,
something along those lines. Murdering their thirst. So
yeah. When I first read the can, like I remember I was like, oh, like I had the water. I was like, this is so great. I love this. I was just like sitting in the car reading the can. And when it was saying like I forget what the paragraph on the back says, but it has like about like murdering your thirst. I remember being like really caught off guard by that and being like, okay, wow, this is a lot for some water. But I think it is super creative.
yeah.
And yeah, like I think it's trendy. I've seen people posting, just like before I even knew what liquid death was, I saw people posting it and I thought it was like a beer, but yeah, I know a lot of people um yeah, drink it. Probably really trendy for teens. I'm sure there's TikToks out there about it.
I'm sure. Yeah. And
Yeah.
they have three versions, what I looked at on their website. You can order this on Amazon. And they have three versions of sparkling water. So they
Okay.
have a lime, a mango, and the mango is called mango chainsaw.
Oh.
And then they have a berry, which is like it might be like buried to death or buried
Right.
under or something silly. Like they really, really make a play on the words. And it's so cool. I just find that so amazing, from a
Yeah.
marketing perspective. So anyway, check out Liquid Death. I thought the water was delicious. It was so cold in the aluminum can. So that's what I liked. And I needed a water at the moment. And I was like, well, this is pretty interesting. So I thought I'd give it a try. It is a little bit expensive, but it does seem worth it. It's certainly less if you buy a 12 pack. I think it comes to like $1.20 something a can, which is less than a bottle of, plastic bottle of water.
Sure.
So anyway, I just wanted to
Yeah.
talk about that.
And I didn't know they had flavors. Like I've only seen the white and black cans. I think one might be carbonated and one might not be. But I
Yes.
didn't know they had flavors. I definitely want to try those. It sounds
Yeah,
so refreshing.
they do. We were at the grocery store here yesterday and they were really out of it actually, but they had like 3 boxes left
Okay.
of the flavored, and that's the sparkling.
Very
So
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about back to school anxiety, which kind of encompasses separation anxiety, perfectionism. Sometimes emetophobia is part of school anxiety, which emetophobia is the fear of vomiting. And also, I said perfectionism, right? And
Yep.
anxiety. And then we get into a little bit of school refusal. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of the ultimate thing. Like when you have school anxiety, then you start refusing school. And
Yeah.
so we're talking about kids, anywhere in school age here. Okay. And I know we're going to touch on very briefly like college age kids,
Yeah.
but mostly I think this will be more like school age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think another part to all of this anxiety is like social anxiety
Mhm. Oh,
and like, yeah, like making friends, like where am I going to sit at lunch, and even like presentations and
mm,
public speaking anxiety. So it's like, gosh, school can be so wonderful, but also so many opportunities for anxiety to come in and
right.
be
About
disruptive.
performance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many things. So I think like as we talk about what the presentation of the anxiety might look like for
Yeah.
parents or for teachers or medical professionals even, I think one of the things that we might start to see, well, first of all, is not wanting to go to school,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, talking about fear of going to school or a lot of what ifs.
Hmm.
Yeah. Another thing is like a lot of stomach aches.
Yeah.
Kids experiencing stomach aches, saying, I don't feel well, my belly hurts, that kind of
Right.
stuff.
And I think often people might, or parents or caretakers might dismiss that because they might think it's an excuse, like, oh, like I don't feel good. But really, with anxiety and stomach discomfort and physical symptoms go hand in hand. So it could be very likely that your child is experiencing that.
Yes, experiencing anxiety. And so I think I had a client recently who came to me or reached out to me. I don't even think they came to me, but they were told by their pediatrician that when they went to kind of just check in because they thought their child was experiencing anxiety. And the pediatrician was like, oh, this will pass. Like, this is normal. This will pass. Like they were talking about some anxiety symptoms with their doctor. And the doctor was like, oh, I see this all the time. This will go away. It'll pass. And I just felt like, wow, what horrible advice. Like when someone's child is suffering,
Hmm.
and generally what we know about anxiety is that it doesn't just go away. I mean,
Right.
it could if it's like very situational and the situation changes. But I also think that like it's also very possible that like it's not going to just get better on its own. I
Right.
think the thing that's likely is the person's going to develop really unhealthy coping skills,
It's
which,
gonna grow.
yes, or like maybe start refusing school,
Right.
coping by um using a substance or
Mm-hmm.
certain whatever it might be, so
Sure.
I think, if you're a parent, trust your gut on what you feel and if you think your child needs help. I also think just really not kind of sitting in that place of denial that like this isn't a problem. Like, what does it hurt to like get your child evaluated or let them talk to someone about what they're feeling? um,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because
yeah.
it doesn't have to be so terrible and so uncomfortable. And I think, gosh, like school can be so difficult for kids, especially younger kids, and them not knowing how to handle all these changes. And then if we take into consideration a lot of kids were out of school because of the pandemic and then returning to school, so there's even more anxiety. So yeah, it can just feel really, really intense for kiddos.
Yeah, well, I think there's so much pressure. I mean, in so many ways. Like, I think I'm kind of getting off topic here, but at the same time, like adding in some information that I'm thinking of is like just how much pressure on kids, like from such an early age now to perform and to perform well, whether it be in sports or in school, like with academics, or to have a certain number of friends and be popular, or to look a certain way and have the best clothing, to be the
Yeah.
prettiest or the best looking, or the fittest. There's just so much pressure all around. And then also thinking about, well, what college do we go to? I mean, and people are talking about this stuff with kids like so early on now.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and then I think too, like, nowadays, kids, all of that pressure, right? Plus, like, having social media, getting likes, having followers, and, like, I know that is huge with kids right
mhm,
now, and there's that whole other element, and there is just so much pressure in, like, every facet of life. So,
right.
yeah, it just feels so intense. Like, I think it's more intense than for sure, than when I grew up. Like,
Oh my
the
gosh.
presence of
Yeah, for
social
sure.
media, college talk, like, yeah, it's just so extreme.
Yeah. So I think, one thing that I think is cool that I've seen over the years and in more recent years is I'll see kids with anxiety, like, teens or, and they'll be like, well, my therapist, and like what I hear is they're talking about it with their friends. They're talking about having a therapist with their friends.
Yeah.
And, there have been situations where I've seen friends and not on purpose, but like there's just been that kind of connection and like it's been cool for them. And it feels like a normal thing. And kids are starting to talk about mental health. They're talking about having therapists. And so it doesn't have to be this negative thing. Like I think we can really continue to work on removing the stigma from that. um I think that's so important. um so I think just going back to like these anxiety disorders that present themselves, and since everybody's headed back to school, just kind of, keeping your eye out and noticing things where, kids are seeking lots of reassurance. I mean,
Mhm.
reassurance is okay. Like, on occasion, we all need reassured, but like when it becomes excessive and they're needing it daily or repeatedly, that can be a red flag, that maybe something more is going on here. Um, when kids are questioning, like, worrying about people getting sick,
Mhm.
also another thing to kind of take a look at. Worrying about their eating. Gosh, there's so many things I could list off here. This is such a topic that, we're passionate about.
Yeah, or even like irritability or
Mhm.
even anger.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think sometimes think like, oh, like my kid just doesn't want to do work, or like, it might present as like anger or just like straight out refusal. So then you might think your child just doesn't want to do work or is just being defiant.
Right.
Yeah,
Or something like
right.
that.
When
Yeah.
Yeah, like what's underneath that could be like fear and just so much like pain and anxiety.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah. Especially the
Mhm.
presentation of anger, or tantrums even.
Yep.
A lot of times anxiety will present that way,
Yeah.
Um,
Or even like appearance. Like I know a lot of kiddos, even younger, all the way till high school or even older, like might really fixate on how their hair looks or how their outfit looks or how things have to look just a certain way to
mhm,
feel comfortable, or like focusing on like their appearance. Like that's a really big thing
mhm.
that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, um, some things that, just to kind of like think about what a couple things you might be able to do as a family. And I often recommend this when kids have anxiety about school, like visiting the school beforehand. Like
Yes.
if they've never been there, especially if they're like going from middle school into high school, or, a lot of times the schools will do that already, but then maybe doing another trip like over the summer or like the week before school starts, getting a personal tour, just doing some stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
that can really help alleviate some of that anxiety. Um, just validating the feelings of the child. That can
Yeah,
also really help.
absolutely.
Use of rewards,
Mm-hmm.
coming up with a good system for that.
Yeah.
I mean, those are some really basic things, but
Yeah, and even just being encouraging, right? Like, I think it's so natural for people to want to reassure, be like, okay, like maybe you can stay home and then you can keep staying home. And that's like rooted in such a loving place, right? Like, you want to protect your child, but really encouraging them to
mhm,
handle it and face it. And like Shannon said, like using some rewards, doing something fun after school after they go,
yeah.
um, maybe turning it into a challenge.
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And seeking help when you need help, and just not waiting too long and letting this stuff grow. There's like no shame in that,
Yeah.
and so there is treatment available, you know,
Hmm.
and the treatment that you want to be looking for your child is exposure based for, um, for these types of things.
Hmm. Right. And really, like when we say like exposure based, like going towards the things that make them uncomfortable, not avoiding it any longer, not having a ton of coping skills. Because what that kind of does inadvertently is like might teach your child that they can't handle this feeling of anxiety.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I hope this little bit of information is helpful about these things. I mean, we can certainly talk more about it on another episode, I think, if there's desire from listeners. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this is something that you and I are so passionate about.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, because it can be so hard, for just kiddos to navigate feelings in general, and then these intense feelings of anxiety in school. Because, like we talked about earlier, there's just so many parts to this. There's that social aspect, the academic aspect. Um, yeah, there's just a lot, and it can
Mhm.
just be really overwhelming. And there's certainly help available.
Yes. And the one final thing I'll say about this is the worst thing that you can do is keep your child home.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it
Thanks for
really does.
saying that.
Yeah, it really just reinforces the fear about school. If there is
Right.
like any refusal, if there is any like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get my work done, or oh, people aren't going to like me. Sorry, that's my coffee pot
I
going
was
off.
like,
I am, I didn't realize it was still on, but I am in a vacation rental here, and the coffee pot was on, and apparently it makes a very loud noise, letting you know it's starting off. So, yeah, just not wanting to reinforce that idea that any of that stuff, whatever story's going on with the anxiety.
Yeah, definitely. And two, to keep in mind, like, okay, refusal makes it worse for the child, but it can also make the situation worse. Now, there's so many stipulations with attendance. You could have truancy fines, even court, and then that just adds more and more to this whole process.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yep. So we are here for help, and there's lots of wonderful therapists out there. Yeah. So,
Yeah, we're definitely here.
yeah. Yeah. So the other thing we were going to chat about a little bit today is just like end of summer trips, summer ending. You know, I usually do an end of summer trip myself, and so um I'm here in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and yeah, I just love it here. So I don't know what else to say about it, but it is beautiful and
Yes.
warm and lots of
Oh,
palm trees and
gators.
gators, yes, alligators, and um yeah, I don't know what else.
Yeah. Well, I think just the end of summer, like, right, like you can take like a final trip, but like all the feelings that come up at the end of summer, it's kind of like it's like bittersweet, right? Like we can go to the next season, fall can be so exciting, but then there is that part, like even as an adult, that it's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, the summer's over, here we go. It's just, yeah, a lot of feels.
I get a little sad every time I start scheduling clients in like September, October, because I'm like, oh, that means summer is over and back to school. Yeah, because I'm really a summer person and a warm
Hmm.
weather person. Although I do like fall, I don't love winter.
Yeah, yeah, because the days are shorter, it's painfully cold. But
Hmm.
that's, yeah, that's one thing that does feel sad about the summer is thinking about like, oh, the days are gonna get shorter and it's gonna be darker.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So did we have any other things we were going to touch on today? I'm trying to think. Well, you're dog sitting.
Yeah, I am dog sitting, and I think the one doggy here, she's, I don't know, I'm sure you guys probably heard her, but she was pacing around and crying a bit.
Oh, I
So
no.
she's right next to me, and I'm just trying to
Oh, are you?
reassure her that that she's okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's dog sitting. There's one doggy.
Yeah, there it is. So, okay.
Yeah, but dog sitting has been so fun. I have a cat, and then I have like a little dog Forty that stays with my mom most of the time. But just being around dogs, oh my gosh, I feel like these last few days have been so great because dogs just, at least for me, bring me so much joy.
Yeah, same here. I know I miss the dogs. Uh,
Yeah, they're so cute.
yeah. So, well, that's great. And um, I don't know. I feel like we had maybe something else, but I don't.
I don't think
No.
so. I
Okay.
think this was it. Yep.
Mm, okay. Well, I guess we'll see you guys next week or or you'll hear us next week if you
Yeah,
did.
one of them.
Yeah, so we're on YouTube now. So you can watch us if you choose to, or continue to listen. Spotify, Apple, all the platforms, Stitcher, and yeah, we'll go from there, and hope you guys give us a follow, and please rate us if you are listening. That will help us, and we're just really trying to give this a go. I just thought of what I wanted to mention. Next week, Emily and I are going on the hot air balloon ride. So it is next Friday, not this Friday,
Oh, yes, the
Friday,
ninth.
the following Friday. So I'm already thinking we're in this week. So it is Sunday. It is the beginning of the week. But
Right.
but then the following week, Friday, we are going on a hot air balloon ride, and we're gonna be at,
Woohoo!
we're gonna be at
Excited.
Lancaster Balloon Festival on the 16th. So it would be awesome if people come out and meet us. Super, super cool. So
Yes. Yeah, and yeah, we would love to meet you guys. Or meet anyone
Yeah.
really. So yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for listening.